Call to order the Rosemont Planning Commission meeting for Tuesday, August 25th. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Are there any additions to tonight's agenda?
Madam Chair, there are no additions. Staff would just note that there wasn't Excuse me, Madam Chair, there are no additions to the agenda. Staff would just note that there was a notice put in the paper for a project located just east of Blaine Avenue and south of County Road 42 that will be on the September Planning Commission agenda.
Okay.
And that was a request by Opus.
Okay. Will it be renoticed?
We would renotice it.
You'll renotice it. Okay. Thank you.
And also, sorry, Madam Chair, it did not go out. No letters went out. It was only published
only in the paper. Okay. Thank you. Is there any input from the audience on items that are not on tonight's agenda? Okay, seeing none, we'll move forward to the consent agenda. Are there any comments or questions on the consent agenda, which contains our minutes of the July 28th, 2026 regular meeting? Seeing no questions or comments, I will take a vote. I will abstain from this as I was not here for this meeting. So all those in favor?
Aye.
All right, sorry, let me make a motion first.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
It has been moved by Commissioner Reed and seconded by Commissioner Ellis. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
I'm not voting. Opposed? Okay. When you're gone a month, you get a little rusty here, I guess. Apologies. Moving on, we have no old business this evening. We have two items under public hearings. We will start with the first item, which is an Aspen Field item, request by Aspen Field for a comprehensive land use plan amendment to change the designation for 1.94 acres along County Road 42 from high-density residential to community commercial. And Anthony, I'll turn it over to you.
Madam Chair, thank you. This is coming before the Planning Commission ahead of any proposed development on the site, as the comprehensive plan amendment process is longer than the rezoning process due to the fact that it has to go to adjacent and affected jurisdictions for 60 days and then also the Metropolitan Council for final authorization before it can be adopted. So staff is advised the applicant to start with this so that we can get the ball rolling, and then they'll be back with development plans as they move forward. Subsequent approvals would be plats, site plan reviews, things like that. So this is related to 1.94 acres of Outlot B, Emerald Isle 2nd Edition, and it would be re-guiding that portion of the site from high-density residential to community commercial. In 2024, a 192-unit apartment complex was approved for the site. The site itself is bisected by a pipeline, which really constrains the site. And with that original approval for Devco's development, the apartments were located on the north side, leaving the southern portion of the site underutilized. So this is the site location. This is the outlot of the Emerald Isle 2nd Edition. It's approximately 1.36 miles east of Akron Avenue. It's adjacent to Aspen Fields, which is here north of DCTC. You can see further west is Akron Avenue, and here is Lifetime. Immediately to the east of the site is a stormwater retention pond, and then further east is some farm fields and some residential properties. This area is guided for commercial development. So just a reminder to the Planning Commission, for those of you who may not have been on the commission at that time, this was the approved site plan for the site itself, showing those apartments on the north side. The southwest portion would be where the ponding and some parking would go, but really not much utilization for that. So the applicant, Aspen Field LLC, is developing the land immediately west. They are working to assemble the site and make better use of this portion. So the area to be re-guided is in this southwestern portion and really just extending the commercial east here. And as I go on, I'll show you the actual land use designation change. You can see this is the Aspen Fields area with commercial on the south and west side. Crystal's Cuddlebugs is a daycare center that is already under construction here. This is land that's designated and zoned for high-density residential. And then this total 10-acre site here was guided for high-density residential. The applicant is proposing to change this area to community commercial. And then this is just a concept plan showing how the development pattern on those two sites might play out. As I said earlier, the subdivision action of approving a plat would be required before those parcels could be created. The site would actually have to get formally rezoned into conformance with the comprehensive plan if a comprehensive plan amendment is adopted by the city. And then site plan reviews for each individual parcel here. So the applicant is showing this area remaining high-density residential, probably developed in two phases, as the pipeline does bisect these two sites as well, and then commercial along County Road 42 here, really focusing the ponding in this southeast corner. Staff did receive public comment that has been provided to the commission ahead of the meeting. There were 5 main components to that comment letter received, related to property values being negatively impacted, increase in crime and traffic congestion, noted that noise is already in noisy area. The noise would go up, acknowledging that County Road 42 and DCTC currently do create some noise in that area, and that there's already vacant and underutilized commercial properties in Rosemount. Ultimately, their overall concern was that the risks of re-guiding this land would fall on the neighbors themselves. Now, granted, the notice that went out to the neighbors showed this site location map. It did not identify the where that 1.94 acres would be re-guided, so it is very possible that their concerns may not be the same, seeing that the residential would be still buffering the commercial from the neighborhoods to the north. With that being said, staff is happy to take any questions from the commission here. The applicant is present who can maybe speak a little further on their timeline and project plans. And then obviously it's a public hearing, so.
Thanks, Anthony. Can you just, so 1.94 of what is the total acres that are going to stay commercial there?
I can't
Or stay high density residential, sorry.
About 8 acres
Okay.
of this outlot B.
Okay.
Because it's a 10-acre site and it's 1.94 acres, which would be the commercial.
Okay.
And just building on that, so the number of high density residential units is not likely to change or is not impacted by this, right? So it may still have the exact same footprint for high density residential, correct?
It would likely be lower, the amount of units allowed just based on the density maximums, because there would be less land available for that could use to calculate towards the residential units. So it would likely be a reduction in numbers overall than what would have been allowed if it was just all high density residential. But I without having plans, I can't say how many units it would actually end up being.
Got it. Thank you.
I feel like you had a visual of the apartment there. Okay. So this was the apartments that was on that B component?
Correct. Yep. This was approved. This was a project that DevCo brought forward back in 2024. And it was 2 buildings with 96 units in each one. And then this would be the combined A and B here for the Aspen Field high density residential piece. And then this would be the remainder of the high density residential available to them. The ponding would stay as high density residential as well. Also note that this is the concept provided by the applicant.
Okay. And go ahead.
Would that whole area then go under a new site plan review then?
Yes. Yep. Anything that would happen on any of what you can see here in the concept would require site plan review.
What about the part that's already been approved? Does that have to come back now?
Well, it likely would not be able to develop as shown if the
Right.
ponding is taking up a fair amount of it. So it would have to come through for another review.
Okay, but we don't know if they're still planning to build similar unit size other than.
No, I think, and I would defer to the applicant and certainly invite them up during the public hearing, how they would see that working on there as far as fully built out. Probably 2 phases. It would definitely be 2 buildings, I would say, just based on the way the site is split up with that pipeline easement in the center.
Okay.
And with those, at this time, we would not have a traffic analysis, right? It would be with the site plan review.
Yeah,
that
we would be looking at the traffic impacts with a site plan review
Pipeline.
when we knew how many units there are and things like that.
Okay.
With the commercial where it's at, is there a thought that the commercial would connect to, I see a little stub there. So is that going to connect to that greater site and exit onto Connemara as well?
There would be an access point. Staff would expect an access point to align with Acer Avenue here. That would probably be the only access point up on Connemara. And that would be consistent with what was approved prior.
Okay, so there wouldn't be anything flowing from the commercial up through to Acer.
There would probably be internal private drives, but not a public road through there.
Okay, so from the commercial, there could be a private drive. From that commercial, kind of on the bottom, there could be a private drive going up there.
Yeah.
Okay. So it is, I'm just thinking, like, could commercial traffic cut through there to get to Connemara? They could, but
Potentially.
probably isn't the most direct route. Okay. Yes.
So the pipeline that goes through there that we see, it was my understanding that that's why originally the pond for those 2 apartment buildings was going to be more closer to County Road 42 because nothing could be going over the gas line, the pipeline, I'm sorry. So what if I see this parking lot, isn't the parking lot kind of going over that pipeline? And I thought that's something that they
It's staff's understanding that the applicant has had more conversations with the pipeline easement holder about what would be allowed within that easement area
Okay.
than what DevCo had probably been able to achieve.
Okay. I just, excuse me, thought that there could not be any like paving over the pipeline is my understanding, just in a generic sense.
Right. Well, as you can see here, there was some drives that went over that. DevCo maybe didn't want to have in-depth conversations about, getting further access into that easement area. I would defer to the applicant, but in our staff's conversation with them, they have been able to get some encroachments approved by them. As you can see, there's a little bit of the building showing in there too, and I believe that it would be about 10 feet of building could go into that easement area. Again, I would defer to the applicant, but it's staff's understanding that the conversations regarding what could occur within that easement area have been a lot more fruitful than what the previous project proposer was able to achieve.
Okay. Thanks.
And there would need to be those agreements as part of.
Encroachment agreements with the easement holder for sure.
Okay. Any other questions for staff at this time? Yes, Commissioner Ellis.
Again, just so that I can focus on what we're talking about today, the only thing that we're talking about changing is the area on the south of the B parcel. Exactly. So if we look at, it's just that part. So the part on the other one, or on this one that's already zoned commercial south of A is already zoned commercial. So we're not discussing that at all. We're just discussing this part on the south part of B. Perfect.
Correct. Commissioner Ellis and Madam Chair, when the applicant originally came forward to the city with their plans for Aspen Field, staff did say, you should really reach out to the owners of this land east of you. It could probably be better assembled and made better use of, just given the way the pipeline is and whatnot. So they did begin that process, and that's where we are today.
Okay. Any other questions for staff?
No.
Okay. Thank you. This item is a public hearing item, so at this time we will open up the public hearing. Anyone in the audience that would like to speak on this item may do so at this time, coming to the podium, stating your name and address for the record.
Good evening. My name is John Anderson. I'm the representative for the developer, Aspen Field LLC. We were here about a year ago doing the original phase that's currently under construction. And we have, like I said, put a contract under place for this additional 10 acres to the east of the original Aspen Fields. If you've been out there lately, there is a Crystal Cuddlebugs daycare under construction. It's all framed up. That's the first building going in. You can see that by the city well house and building. Our private street that comes off Aspen Avenue is paved at this point. Here's a few minor items. We still got to put the sidewalk in, but we're waiting for the sewer and water connection to be completed for the daycare, which is done now. So we expect sidewalk probably in the next few weeks to be put in out there along Aspen Avenue as well. We've been working with the city staff to actually extend it all the way to Connemara across the city pond. So it'll be a connection all the way from County Road 42 up the Connemara Trail. Basically, what we're proposing here is we do have a senior housing company that has a contract to purchase both A and B on this map, that entire high density area. They were in place when we had our original 10 acres. And as we went through discussions and some due diligence stuff with them, they kept asking for more land. Once the contract that the Emerald Isle outlot owner had expired, or I think it got canceled, we then went to them and then worked the deal out with them. And we actually enlarged this. And as part of our design, we actually wanted to extend our private road a little bit further to the east. And that allowed for a couple additional commercial buildings along County Road 42, and then the higher density, the senior housing complex would go to the north. We do expect the road over on the east end to line up with Acer Avenue. That's probably going to be more of a access into their parking area up in that location. And then where that stub road is, there will be some sort of private drive that'll be part of like an HOA that'll run through and also connect to Connemara. That would provide access through the commercial out to Aspen Avenue and up to Connemara as part of that. We are actually currently working on preliminary plat drawings, final plat drawings, and we'll be submitting for preliminary final plat and a rezoning here in the near future. That rezoning would basically mirror this comprehensive plan request, so it'd go to a commercial zoning versus the residential zoning for that area along County Road 42. So we are working on this to satisfy the senior housing buyer, which was something that when we did the original Aspen Fields, it was talked about a lot of multifamily in this area, and senior housing would be a good fit if you could find it. We do have that buyer in place, and they will be coming forward in the near future, most likely with some sort of concept site plan review for you. And there might be a little tweaks one way or other with that road access, but it is expected. And that's why we don't show it now, because it'll probably shift based on their ultimate design where that's going to be. As far as the commercial goes, we do have another commercial lot under contract with a pet hospital. We've had multiple other commercial entities talk to us over the last few months. Nothing else is under contract right now, but there are people looking, and we do expect to get these sold and ultimately built out as well. As far as the private street, we do have an HOA in the current phase that will manage that private street from a commercial standpoint. The multifamily portion will be part of that HOA as well. That will be expanded onto this property once we extend our road further east. And we will be replatting our multifamily lot. And then there's an outlot in our southeast corner, which is currently a pond. If you go out there and look, that pond will be moved, even though we just finished it. It's going to be refilled in and moved over to the east. And we're going to put all the ponding in the very southeast of the new addition there. And then we'll have commercial all the way along that access road, which gives good access to Aspen Avenue and 42 in those areas. So with that being said, that plat will be coming in soon. We'll be replatting, like I said, the commercial lot, the outlot, and actually the high density residential as part of a new plat. So you will see an overall layout that includes over half of the existing Aspen Fields, because lot lines will be adjusted. And as we've been discussing with commercial buyers, that potentially shifts a line one way or the other depending on how much acreage they need and the size of the building or look at parking, things of that nature. So each of those lots will eventually have a site plan that comes before you as well, gets reviewed by city staff. And basically tonight we're looking for the comp plan amendment to guide that to the commercial, which is the exact same designation to the west there. And we know it takes a little bit longer going with the Met Council and all the jurisdictional notification. We're hoping to have our plat stuff submitted here this week, but we're about 2 weeks away, so it'll be probably based on the next submittal. So you should see something here in early September for a full submittal for the rest of the the applications we need. So with that being said, I guess I'm here for, the gas line.
Yes.
We talked about that. We do have an encroachment agreement with the gas company. That gas line is an abandoned line, so it's not an active line at this point. Our encroachment agreement does allow for roads, paving, parking lots to encroach over that easement area. We can also encroach on the south part of the line, the south half of it, up to 10 feet of the gas line that's in the ground with a structure. On the north side, we cannot do that, but our encroachment agreement does allow that on the south side. So there will be some encroachments into that easement. And as you've seen on that previous one, they were crossing it, but not encroaching. And we were able to work that encroachment agreement out on the original phase of Aspen Fields and are working that now on the balance of the site to do the same thing. We did talk to them about completely abandoning the line and pulling the line out of the ground, but it's in the hundreds of thousands to do that, which wasn't feasible. So this encroachment agreement was the next best thing. So, with that being said, I'm here for any questions, if you have any. So
Perfect. Thanks, John. One other question on the apartment plan. I don't know if you know this since the submittal isn't forward yet, but is the number of units expected to be lower than what Devco was proposing?
I don't, because there's a little bit less high density acreage there. So Devco, I think, had theirs at, 192. And then we also had some commercial or high density residential on our side. And what they're looking to do is kind of create more of a campus feel where there'll be different types of structures, different types of units in there, kind of a different range, and it will all be for senior housing. So the exact layout and exact thing, we've had some discussions, but they're kind of putting that stuff together right now. And like I said, I'm not really the one, putting that design together, but they will be coming forward in the near future with more information on that. So.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions from the commission for the applicant right now? Okay. I'll ask you to stand by in case there's other questions that come up.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. If there's anyone else in the audience who would like to speak, you may do so at this time.
My name is Robert Elliott. I live at 14349 Acer Avenue. Are we here tonight just to approve the change from high density resident to CC for the outlined area?
Yes.
And nothing further is being discussed tonight?
Correct. That is correct. It is just the outlined area, 1.94 acres, that's moving from high density residential to community commercial.
Okay, so any future plans for parcels A and B will be subject to future meetings?
Yes. Some of those are already zoned, guided and or zoned accordingly.
I understand. Last fall or summer, there was a proposal to put a high density two building, I think, residential apartment complex in there with various zoning changes to it or waivers.
Variances, yep.
Variances. And that was subject to a review that ultimately, I believe, fell through.
I will let staff speak on that at the end of our public hearing, but the site, there will be a site plan review which would come through for A and B parcels again.
So nothing we decide here today is going to be an approval for them to proceed with the development of A and B.
Correct. It's just the approval for the change from the guiding of comprehensive plan guiding from high density residential to community commercial for that 1.94 acres.
Okay.
That 1.94 acres will also have to come in for a site plan review at such time that would show more detail about what they're expecting to build on that land.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Melvin Evans, 14349 Alder Way. Couple questions. One, for the commissioner, or the entire party. Is this the first time you guys have seen this outline? I've always wondered why public comment comes the day you guys vote. I feel like you guys have seen it, already kind of make up your mind of, hey, we're going to approve this, yes or no. So our concerns kind of, in my opinion, go on deaf ears. Not here to object. I was here back in January, 24, I believe was the winter. And I objected, I was against the additional 192 units going in, we wanted more commercial. Back then in 24, the pipeline wasn't an issue when they came across with their plans. That a lot of new faces up here, but that was approved. Now it is an issue, which is why it's getting rezoned. My concern is that it's going to continue getting rezoned, and they're going to meet more and more commercials going to keep moving east, which will lower the values of the Connemara traffic. You mentioned the noise. We already get a decent amount of noise from DTC. Is there any plans to put up any kind of barrier in the future, whether it's additional trees, some type of privacy fence? I'm not sure what might help reduce the noise in that area. That's it.
Okay, thank you. Is there any other comments from the public on this item this evening? Okay, seeing none, I will make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Kenninger, seconded by Commissioner Reed to close the public hearing. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Public hearing is now closed. So I'm going to start with, get a couple follow-up items from the public hearing. Anthony, maybe you can start with the comment or question from Robert on the DevCo falling through. I believe it was an approved submission, but is not moving forward. Like it's no longer, they're no longer moving forward. They're no longer in the mix.
Madam Chair, yes, the DevCo did receive approval. Their next step would have been to get building permits and begin construction. Obviously, for whatever reason, it's outside the city's purview why they didn't move forward. Things don't move forward for a number of reasons all the time, which is why we usually don't talk about things until we have applications, because we get phone calls, we get questions, we have meetings with people, and then nothing happens. And if we told everybody about everything that we meet with people on that doesn't happen, they could make decisions like buying or selling a house, and then whatever they were afraid of doesn't happen. Well, then, they're not going to be happy with that result either. So that being said, there were approvals for that. Now, because the site plan would be changing, there would have to be new approvals made. Now, I would just also note that because these are the A and B there are guided and zoned for high density residential, if an applicant came forward to construct a high density residential project that met all the requirements of the code, the city would have a hard time not approving it. The purpose of having a zoning ordinance is to identify development standards like setbacks, landscaping, number of units, building heights, things like that. And if someone were to come through with a plan that meets all of those requirements, the city would have to make findings. You yourselves, as well as the city council, would have to make findings to deny that request in a way that shows that it doesn't meet the purposes, intent, or standards of the code. But they would still need a site plan review. And if there are any deviations of the code needed, they would have to get formal approval of those after going through the Planning Commission and City Council.
And those will have public hearings just like we are doing tonight.
Correct. Every approval that would be needed for this, other than the final plat, would require a public hearing, which would go up with letters out to everyone within 500 feet of the site and published in the newspaper and posted on the city's website and at City Hall.
Okay, thank you. The next one, I'm going to take the first couple questions from Melvin, and then I'll ask Anthony, you, Adam, Julia to chime in, or the other commissioners. So a little bit about our process. So you'd asked if this was the first time we are seeing this tonight. It is the first time we're hearing staff's presentation on it tonight. However, we do get a packet emailed to us the week prior to the last week, at the end of the week last week. We get a packet emailed to us with all the information in it, which we read and have a time where we can ask questions to staff, as well as go visit the sites and such before we are here tonight hearing about it. We do not need to vote on things tonight. So staff puts it before us with their recommended motions, and there are times, depending on the item, very complex items or items where we feel we need more time to think it through, or we want staff to follow up on things, we will continue an item to a future public hearing, or a future meeting. We may hear the public hearing, close the public hearing, and still continue the item. So while we may be seeing it for the first time, I would say we we learn about it a couple days in advance. We are able to do some of our research and read about it, and then come hear the presentation and hear the public comments, and then either make a decision or move forward, continue the item to a next meeting. Is there anything any other commissioners would add on our process?
Just elaborate on that. When we do drive around these sites and take a look at what's being proposed, how does that fit? What are the houses nearby? What would it be like if I lived right there, to really get a feel for how this would fit into our community and meet our overall vision for the city and interconnectedness and being a friendly place to live.
And I would say, well, I personally walk into the meeting with thoughts on the item, I don't have my mind made up 100% because I need to keep an open mind to hear staff, to hear the applicant, as well as to hear the public that are here to speak on it. So obviously I've read it, I've thought through it, I've thought about questions and things I have, but then I would, the public hearing is a time where we take that into account before we make decisions. So I do want you to know that your voice and that you're heard when you come here, and I personally do take that into consideration before I make a decision.
Madam Chair, I would also add, we're lucky to have a commission that has been in its role for quite a while. Many of you were here when DevCo came through. You heard concerns raised by neighbors, a lot of the same concerns. You heard that a lot of the neighbors want more commercial. You heard that neighbors were afraid of noise, but they wanted more commercial, which is a kind of a contradictory thing. But that's all to say that what you hear tonight doesn't make up the entirety of your knowledge base for making decisions related to planning and zoning here at the city. So don't discount yourselves in that regard either.
Yes, you did state you voted for more commercial. Yeah, and just on this property, I think I am excited about the proposal that we're going to see in a few months coming forward for senior housing and a combination of A and B. I think it could be a good mix with the additional commercial there. The other comment from Melvin, two more. One was the concern about continuing to get rezoned to the east. And I just did want to call out because I believe that large property to the east is already zoned commercial.
Correct. That is guided and zoned for commercial development.
So everything in that red box is currently zoned as commercial. Now,
also, Madam Chair, this is stormwater infrastructure. It would take a considerable effort to develop that specific parcel. It's not unheard of or impossible, but that is something to also take note.
So it's more to even further to the east, but that's commercial zone or guided commercial at some day when that redevelops.
I was actually going to ask a question about that. In terms of like the private road, do you ever foresee a time where that road would need to be a through street to that other commercial area?
I think we would not be able to say one way or the other until we have development progressing further to the east to see how it goes. The city is beholden to the county as far as access off of County Road 42. There is immediately east of that commercial area, Audrey Avenue, which is planned to be a signalized intersection there. It might be something similar to Aspen Avenue, where access into here would come off of Audrey Avenue with a secondary access up to Connemara. Just to allow people to the north to get access. Without having plans, I can't say how it would actually shake out, but it would be probably similar to kind of how we're seeing development occurring on there. Connemara is a major collector. It is the primary east-west road that relieves County Road 42, and it is planned to extend all the way east to Blaine Avenue and line up with 140th Street there.
Thank you. The last comment from Melvin was around noise and what, obviously it's outside of our re-guiding tonight, but the noise conversation, we did read about it in the letter as well, and what maybe can be done to help reduce noise for residents. I don't know if there's any thoughts on that.
So development can do a lot for reducing noise. The apartment buildings themselves would be a barrier from County Road 42. Landscaping that is installed as part of development, both within parking lots and around the buildings and landscaped areas, those would do more to buffer noise. The county, again, not to put everything on them, but it is very easy to do. They may someday find a need for noise walls. We don't really see them along County Road 42. I don't know that we would see them, but development that includes berming and landscaping and buildings will do some to alleviate that. But staff does appreciate acknowledging that County Road 42 is a big noise producer and has been for 20, 30 years.
Okay, thank you. With that, are there any comments or questions from the commission before we move forward? Yes, Commissioner Ellis.
So in talking about notice that residents are going to get and things, I can't tell on this. So we give notice for everybody who's within 500 feet.
Correct.
When the plans come forth for that community commercial area, is that within 500 feet by the time we get across Connemara and onto the folks that live on Acer Avenue? So are they going to be notified, or how is that work?
So it kind of depends on what all gets applied for at once. If they come in and apply for a plat, it would contain all of this whole parcel. Everyone within 500 feet of this entire parcel would be notified when that plat comes through. Once it's platted, and then those are individual parcels, the notice is measured from the parcel boundaries. We just have to have a standard to measure from. It's entirely likely that we get the plat request with a rezoning and site plan review. The commission is used to seeing several things come through for a project at once. But staff would also let the public know, especially people that are watching, that you can sign up on the city's website and get emails of every agenda for whichever public meetings you want to receive them for. You can get emailed whenever there's a planning commission agenda published. You can get emailed the notification for that. Council meetings, parks and rec meetings. So for people that do like to know what's going on, I know I do personally. That's why I like my job. Sign up for those meetings, get those agendas in your email, because then you really can stay on top of everything that might not reach your mailbox.
Thank you. Good question, Commissioner Ellis.
I just have a comment.
Yeah.
So
Rivera.
Being on the commission for several years now, it's always been exciting to see commercial development along County Road 42. I think it has been planned for that for many years as our city moves further east. Amenities are asked for by residents. It's along a busy collector, County Road 42. So I'm excited to see some commercial development there, and especially at some point, if and when those buildings possibly become senior housing. A lot of them don't necessarily, drive, and they would be probably pretty excited to have some commercial development there to access without having to maybe have a vehicle. So as we move further east, I'm just excited to see more commercial development in the areas that were planned for it ahead of time or rezoned. So that's my take.
Yes. Okay. Anyone else?
I thought it was well said. I agree. I think it'll be a good fit there. I think the high density residential create a nice buffer there too. And to your point, Anthony, I think actually help with the noise reduction overall, because the majority of that will be coming from 42 and DCTC. So I think this is overall a pretty solid plan.
Yeah, I agree. Getting those buildings built is going to help buffer that noise, be a big buffer to that noise, the buildings and the landscaping. Okay, well, with that, do we want to entertain a motion?
Motion to recommend the City Council approve an amendment to the Rosemont Comprehensive Land Use Plan to redesignate 1.94 acres located 0.36 miles east of Akron Avenue and north of County Road 42 from high-density residential to community commercial.
Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Reed, seconded by Commissioner Bugай. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. This item will go forward to the City Council for approval on Tuesday. I think it's a Tuesday, September 8th. Yeah, that's a Tuesday. No. Yeah. No? Yeah. Yes. Yes, the 7th is a Monday. Okay. Sorry about that. Next, we have a request by KJ Walk for approval of a site plan review to allow for construction of a multi-tenant commercial building with a drive-through facility. And Julia, I will turn it over to you.
Right. All right, so a little overview of the project summary in front of the commission tonight. The Planning Commission is being asked to consider a request submitted by KJ Walk for site plan review approval to construct a multi-tenant commercial building with a drive-through facility at 2718 149th Street West. So the plans provided by the applicant meet the requirements of the zoning ordinance within the city code, and staff is recommending approval of the site plan review subject to the conditions that are listed in the recommended action. So a little overview of the site locations. You can see that's outlined in red. The property is located within the Rosewood Center Second Edition plat area, located north of County Road 42, east of Business Parkway, and then also west of Biscayne Avenue. The subject parcel was originally a part of the outlot associated with Rosewood Estates, a single-family neighborhood, which is north of the subject site. The area was platted as Rosewood Center back in 2014, which established one buildable lot, which is where that existing Anytime Fitness building is located, and then also an additional 4 outlots. 2 of those outlots were for future development. One was for stormwater ponding, and then one was a remnant parcel. In 2024, the applicant did come forward submitting a preliminary and final plat for Rosewood Center Second Edition. That plat subdivided the existing outlots that were created in 2014 and then created 5 buildable lots and then also 1 non-buildable lot. So in front of you today is one of those buildable lots within Rosewood Center Second Edition. So a little overview of the site plan. So the area is about 34,051 square feet in size. Current zoning is at MX2, highway mixed use, and then comp plan land use designation is CC community commercial. The proposed site plan does include a 5,220 square foot multi-tenant commercial building that is located on the southwestern portion of the site, which you can see on the right-hand side of this slide shows that proposed building. The building will be facing north towards 149th Street West, and that parking area is located between the roadway of 149th Street West and then also the building. The site plan does show that development does meet all setback requirements for the parking area and structure as well. I did also want to note that the drive-through facilities is an accessory use and is permitted with standards within the MX2 Highway Mixed Use Zoning District. Drive-through facilities are subject to 7 performance standards, which were outlined within the staff report that the commission did receive, and it's stated within section 1167I of the zoning code. Staff was able to make the findings, and they were able to make the findings for the drive-through facility on the site. So a little overview of the parking and access on site. So the access will be, the site will be accessed by 2 access points, one off 149th Street West, which you can see on the left-hand side, right off 149th Street West, and then also from an existing access drive east of the site, which would give access to that Anytime Fitness location site. The proposed drive-through area is located in the southeastern portion, directly east of the building, and the drive-through will be accessible from both site accesses, allowing for circulation in and out of the site. You can see that on that eastern part of the site, directly east of the building. So the site plan also does include 28 parking stalls, which meets that minimum requirement, which you can see is outlined in this table below. There was also a breakdown of both office and restaurant uses provided, since at this time there isn't a specific use for the 3 different suites within the building. So the applicant did give a breakdown of the different potential uses that would be allowed on that site, which the 28 stalls would meet the requirement for either office or restaurant use. The applicant also did provide an exhibit for emergency vehicle turning movements, which the city's fire marshal did review, and then also did provide a drive-through stacking exhibit demonstrating the facility will provide a minimum of 6 stacking spaces per drive-through window, which to my knowledge, and the applicant stated that there will only be 1 drive-through window on that east side of the proposed building. A little overview on the landscaping. So the applicant's landscape plan did include a mix of deciduous and coniferous trees provided throughout the site, and also a variety of different foundation plantings as well. The plan does show 19 trees, including 9 trees along 149th Street West, and then 2 trees included in the island, the parking island close to the parking facility. And then there's also 8 arborvitae trees provided along the east side of the drive-through area to help with screening from the commercial site to the east as well. The site is required to have a minimum of 11 trees and 43 foundation plantings, and they are meeting that minimum requirement, as you can see in that breakdown in that table shown below. Foundation plantings on the site are shown to be located primarily along the western and southern portions of the building, and then additional plantings along the parking islands throughout the parking lot, and then also along the drive-through facility as well. And then photometric plan. So the applicant is proposing site lighting consisting of pole-mounted and wall-mounted fixtures throughout the site. There are 4 wall-mounted fixtures, which will be located on the north side of the building, where the entrances to the buildings will be located. And then also there will be 3 pole-mounted fixtures proposed throughout the parking lot as well, which you can see outlined in this photometric plan on the right-hand side of the slide. The applicant did submit this photometric plan and did demonstrate the lighting levels do comply with the standards outlined within the zoning code. Did want to make a comment about engineering. So there will be a sanitary sewer and water service provided to the existing facilities along 149th Street West. Stormwater runoff will be directed at the pond to the north of the site, and then existing stormwater sewer line south of the site. And then we'll also utilize that adjacent stormwater pond to the south as well. Our engineering team did take a look at the site plan that was submitted. There is an existing drainage and utility easement area located along the eastern side of the site, which is preserving a corridor for an existing water level equalizer pipe. There will be a need for an encroachment agreement with the city and the applicant, subject to city council approval, and that will be required prior to any building permits that would be pulled, just to ensure that any of those pipes that would need to be fixed down the line would be required by the applicant. And then also conformance with all applicable requirements of the city engineer is a recommended condition of approval within this site plan review. Overview of the architectural elevations. So the submitted elevations indicate a mixture of exterior materials with brick and the natural stone, which will comprise about 92% of the building. And then the remainder will be that 7.84 will consist of EFS, which does meet the zoning code requirements. The MX2 highway mixed use zoning district requires a minimum of the 50% of natural stone or brick, which this site plan these exterior materials are meeting that minimum requirement. And then staff is finding that the exterior finishes do comply with the city's architectural standards outlined in the city code. And then there's a one recommended action in front of the Planning Commission today, which will be a motion to approve a site plan review allowing KJ Walk to construct a multi-tenant commercial building with a drive-through facility at 2718 149th Street West, subject to conditions A through F. I can answer any questions that the commission may have. I do know the applicant is in the audience as well, so he might be able to speak on additional questions that staff may not be able to answer.
Thank you, Julia. Are there any comments or questions from the commission?
Yeah, I guess two things. One, just to kind of the future vision there, the signaling at Biscayne and straightening of Biscayne, that's expected to be done in the next year, right? This will be done before the school opens, right? So that will provide a little more traffic control.
Correct. That is required to be finished prior to the middle school opening, which will be fall of 2027.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
And then the other question I have is, I am a little sensitive because there is residential right across the street. Mm-hmm. And if done right, this is great because it means we've already got the daycare center there and Soul Salon, so on, and that's working great. I drive by there all the time. And this could fit in very nicely. I guess the one concern I have is about the restaurant type. Mm-hmm. Really small footprint, but if I was a resident living across the street, I'd be concerned about smells, like fried chicken tends to go, smell goes, for miles sometimes. Do we know anything about what kind of restaurants could be put in there, or is that a question for the applicant?
I would probably defer to the applicant for what what they're seeing, at least for tenant wise, but within our zoning code, we don't specify what type of restaurants is allowed and what's not allowed. Within our zoning code, it just states restaurant, and then those requirements for parking stalls includes like seating, max capacity, and that type. So we don't really specify what type of restaurant use is allowed and what's not allowed. It more comes down to capacity and such.
Would we as a commission have any kind of leeway to, if the plan were to, well, I guess if we approve this plan, it's past us, right? So they could put any kind of restaurant in there, right?
At this point, what's in front is it's a spec building in a way, but if it's meeting all the setbacks and everything and all the requirements for off-street parking, for landscaping, for all the requirements that we outlined for site plan approval, then. But I would definitely defer to the applicant. I know that he's had conversations with different tenants for the different suites within the proposed multi-tenant building, so.
Okay.
Julia, on that same line of thinking, we obviously have lighting restrictions and noise restrictions, but do we have anything around odor or smells?
Not to my knowledge, not within our code.
Yeah, like
We
I
do
mean, you
have
bring up a
some,
good point, but
yeah.
I'm thinking like, we don't have any kind of.
Not specifically within the zoning ordinance do we have
Right.
requirements for odor or that type.
Or smells that come.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have a question. So with regards to the Rosemont Middle School, currently a lot of Rosemont Middle School kids, they will, go to Culver's, like walking from the middle school to there, and that's kind of the place to hang out. With the new middle school, I mean, this is going to be potentially the closest restaurant or place, depending on what it is and if it's appealing to them, right? And so I guess the question in my mind is, have we thought about safety for the students who are going to be potentially walking and trying to get to that location?
At least to my knowledge, there will be pedestrian measures done with that intersection that the county will be working with for Biscayne Avenue and County Road 42. It does also look like along 149th Street West, there is an existing sidewalk. So with that pedestrian work that's being done at Biscayne and 42, I think that would really only be the thing that's hindering at least pedestrian traffic, as there is that existing sidewalk along 149th Street West on the north side.
Madam Chair, Commissioner Biedner, I do know with that signalization that does provide some traffic management. It is staff's understanding that the school district is the school district and the county are looking at different grade separated crossing potentials. I don't think they've landed on any final design, but it is something that is a need that is the school district and the county are aware of, and that the city obviously is playing a role in so much as it can for a project like that.
Yeah.
And I think like one of the concerns is like, while the 149 does have that sidewalk, are they really going to go all the way north on Biscayne and then use that, or are they going to try to, shortcut it and just walk along 42?
Well, it's the county's long-term plan to have
Yeah.
trails on both sides of 42.
Yeah.
Okay.
Long-term plan.
Do you mean if they would cross at Biscayne and then walk down 42?
Yeah.
I think because the restaurant would be positioned more on the north side of that lot. I don't know. I'd like to think they wouldn't try and cross through the pond. There's not going to be easy cross-cutting from 42 with the berm and stuff. I feel like it wouldn't be easy to walk it.
Okay.
Like
the only thing that adults know is that we can't figure out what middle schoolers are going to do. Anyway.
Right. I mean, we don't know what they're going to do, but that wouldn't be an easy, to me, it wouldn't be an easy walk by any means.
Even today, it's not walkable
No.
path anywhere around that. So the only way would be to cross Biscayne. In
Yeah.
that heavy traffic, I don't think that will be something they will prefer.
Right. They'd have to go to Biscayne, cross, and then go up to 149th and down.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe this isn't representative of the actual topography out there, but it looks like the footprint of the building and some of the parking areas kind of starts to encroach in on the grading of that outlot. If you go to the drawing, next one, I believe. Yeah, well, that last one showed, I mean, you can see the grading lines of that outlot. If that would have to be reworked, how does that work with having to create enough space for that retention pond and just making sure that you have enough?
The city
Space
is
there.
requiring that encroachment agreement
Okay.
as part of that. So, I mean, because that whole eastern side, you can kind of see that dotted line right there. All east of that is technically a drainage and utility easement area for those utilities, which the city will be requiring the applicant to enter an encroachment agreement for that area. So I mean, that will be covered in a way. At least the parking and the drive through is meeting that setback requirement.
Commissioner Bugai and Madam Chair, is your question more along the lines of is it designed in a way that it will be structurally sound or safe or within the angle or the sloping of that retention pond?
Yeah, my concern was, or maybe not concern, but question is if they need to build into that retention pond at all to adjust for either the building or the parking, are you taking away from the capacity of the retention pond then?
Sure. Those are all things that are reviewed by both internal and then consulting engineers on behalf of the city with the full civil submittal plans for these projects.
Okay. So that'll be considered in part of.
And that will be a requirement with the site plan review. It is a condition stating that it does have to follow all city engineer requirements. Stated in that memo, and other additional information will be required that they'll have to follow.
Julia, with the entrance to the Anytime Fitness kind of building there to the east, does that impact any of the parking at Anytime Fitness today, or is that
no? So
more north of that parking?
It's more north of that parking, so it's kind of hard to tell on here, but it was stubbed to the west, so there was
that stub that's there.
Yes.
Okay. Correct. Okay. I just didn't know if it was still in that same.
Yeah, I know it's kind of hard to tell, but that parking south of where that stub was, which will be the connection point to this site.
Okay. A couple other comments, and I'm not sure they might be more for the applicant, but on the landscaping plan and the drive-through, this is I'm guessing these trees aren't in their exact spots, and Warren's always very flexible. But just coming out of like where the drive-through is, it kind of looks like there's a window between it lines up to a window in the trees, and I just wondered if we could have a tree there so that it shields any headlights pointing towards the road and towards the residential there. Does that make sense?
Do you mean like in this?
So if you go straight forward, you're kind of in that window between the second and third tree.
Okay.
And so if we could adjust a little bit so that a tree is aligned, blocking that would be good. We can do that? Okay.
At least for the landscape plan, as long as the number of trees are correct and they're in that vicinity where they're planned, there is a little bit of flexibility in location.
Okay.
For planting. Okay. At least for when we review landscape plans.
Perfect. And I just want to request that it blocks so that we block the headlights from those residents to the north, because as Commissioner Reed mentioned, it's obviously we've got residential butting right up to this. I mean, there is some stormwater pond there to the north too, so it does give some separation. But the other questions I had is I noticed it said mobile order pickup for the drive-through, and so I think that this obviously could be changed, but whether maybe it's just mobile order planned for the drive-through, not an ordering, but if we approve this, that could change, even though if that's what's planned today.
Correct. That could change, but it would still be required to follow those permitted standards that were outlining in the packet. And also, there was also a condition that any signage has to receive administrative approval prior to any installation of any signage as well.
And I believe that's signage as well as the volume, not being able to hear it from neighboring places. Okay. And then do you have any thoughts on the timing of this? Because I know we've got other projects that with KJ Walk, and just kind of wondering what that timing looks like.
I would
defer to the applicant. That's what I assumed, but
yes,
thought I'd get it out there now. Mm-hmm. Okay. Sounds good. Anyone else have any questions or comments?
Mm-hmm.
Commissioner Rivera?
I do, but it's probably for the applicant as well.
Okay. Sounds good. Anyone else? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
This item is a public hearing item, so at this time we will open up the public hearing. Anyone in the audience who would like to speak may do so at this time, coming to the podium, stating your name and address for the record. And if the applicant would like to come forward and start us off, you may. Good evening.
Yeah, I'm Warren Israelson, owner of KJ Walk.
Can you state your address too, for the record?
I live in Savage.
Or your work address? That's fine.
Yes,
An address.
1001 Egan Drive is our work
Perfect.
work address, which is also 42 straight west of here. Yeah, we had proposed a project similar to this on another lot a few years ago, and we ended up selling that lot, and nothing's been done on it, which kind of surprised me. But so this is round two, the same project. We actually are proposing the exact same tenants we were back then. So in this case, the eastern one would be a taco. It's called K Taco. They have, I think, like half a dozen restaurants in the Twin Cities. And then the middle one is Pizza Supreme. So it's a pizza place, and we don't have anybody currently for the western portion of the building. Let's see. Is there another question that with timing?
Yes.
As you can tell, we finally getting started on that other apartment project.
Yes.
Finally.
6 years? 6 years, I think. So what do you think?
Been that long?
It's been about that long. Yeah, I think. I don't quote me, but pretty close to 6 years. Yeah. So what do you think timing on this one is?
Well, I'm guessing it'll probably be challenging to get a building permit yet this year and get started. So likely it'll be next spring when we start on this one.
Okay. So this one isn't going to sit and wait until the
No,
apartments are all done or anything. You're going to move on this one
no,
quicker.
this is,
Okay.
yeah.
I think Commissioner Rivera, you said you had some questions for the applicant.
I thought he looked familiar. I was just going to ask about something similar that was on, I believe, the lot across the street on the northeast corner of 42. Is that where you were proposing another strip mall like this a couple years ago?
Across from New Horizons
It was
Daycare.
that business.
Right.
Just west of New Horizons Daycare.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. I thought you looked familiar. So that's my question was, and I think it's the same question that was back then, probably to do more with the drive-through, because there is residential folks that are just north of there. The hours at certain points of the night, nobody wants to hear, ordering tacos at 10 at night or whatever. So mine had to do more with maybe the hours that they're considering at some point and the noise in that whole drive-through realm.
To be honest, I'm not sure what their hours are, but so I guess.
No, I'm
don't
more
know.
information to come, but I think that was the concern a couple
Yeah.
years ago. Same thing.
Yeah, I remember some concerns about noise last time around, and I think we were supposed to notify the tenant that they had to make sure that the noise was not an issue with the neighbors or something like that. I can't remember.
I think we've got noise ordinances of, not being able to hear noise from a parcel at certain hours, past, I think our noise ordinance is at 10 o'clock p.m., I believe. Don't quote me on that, but 10 p.m.
I believe so, but you should not be able to hear the.
Your mic isn't on. It's okay.
No matter what time it is, you should not be able to hear the speakers with the drive-through. And what staff has found is that the technology for the drive-through systems is a lot better than it used to be. So it hasn't come up. We do gladly receive complaints if there are any, and work with property owners to eliminate those issues as they arise, if they arise.
And I can't remember if it was the drive-through that was proposed with the project to the west of New Horizons Daycare, or if it was a different drive-through, but I clearly remember myself going and sitting at Culver's in different spots to listen to the drive-through, and I couldn't hear from across the street, from in their parking lot. And so, yeah, I would agree that the technology, even when Culver's was built, to such a point that I had a hard time hearing that.
Yeah, and again,
from any distance.
Commissioner Rivera, Madam Chair, County Road 42 is going to be the loudest thing out there, and I think, not speaking for the residents, but as someone who's lived near a busy roadway, it does kind of become a white noise that, much like office spaces, the white noise is there to not distract, but muffle other specific sounds. So if there are issues and we do receive complaints, obviously staff is eager to work with property owners and residents to alleviate those.
Any other questions? This obviously could change, but is it expected to be only a mobile order pickup at the drive-through?
Well, that's currently what we're thinking.
Okay.
We don't want to be totally restricted to that, but
Right.
that's the current
wouldn't restrict
thinking.
it, but the sign is what caused me to think that. Okay. So I think I got my questions answered. We got the other questions answered. Okay. We'll let you stand by in case there's other questions that come up from residents or anything else.
Okay. Thank
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience that'd like to speak on this item at this time?
Hi there, Elise Madaman. I'm actually the neighbor here at 26781 149th Street West, owner of, it's a Sola Salon and Anytime Fitness within our Madaman properties. So not the Anytime Fitness building, just happens to have that in there. And I just have a couple questions, which you guys were kind of either answering questions yourself. But the construction entrance, as it's currently placed on there, is utilizing our entrance to our parking lot. And that is the only entrance to our parking lot. And even with the construction that's happening down the road, there are a lot of vehicles that just kind of sit and hang out there. So I would like to either suggest or some other option to not use our single entrance, just because right now it is already very narrow. It's literally 2 lanes of cars in and out of there. If that can be addressed or looked at, certainly would be nice. I know we talked a little bit about the trees in that Outlot A. I don't know where you guys fall in that, where the land developer Warren lies in with that. But recently, if you've ever been down that road, it is rarely kept up, rarely mowed. We had to call in and get that place mowed several times in the last 9 years I've owned that building. But also too, to look at that for visibility, what it looks like, the attraction for, companies to come in there is to try to take care of that pond and maybe make it look a little bit nicer and not so kind of left to the wayside, along with the other sites that are currently available. And I did have some concerns, obviously, with the drive-through. It makes me feel a little better that it's not going to be like the next big coffee shop that's going to come in and there's 30 cars both ways and it's just, kind of a lot. If that's going to be what it is and it's very simple, maybe just a pickup window, something a little faster. My concern was maybe making that entrance into our parking lot, maybe an exit only, so people aren't lining up too many different places, in that they only encroach and they impede their own traffic within their parking lot, not causing a line into ours or out on that main road. Sometimes it's easier to come up with things right away of a traffic pattern and not after the fact. People don't have their routines on there. If we could maybe explore that. You already answered the question on was this originally planned for down the road more west, because I had heard that was maybe going in. And then a monument sign request, if there's any of those that would come up. We had already discussions that we would be either within that communication. I didn't see any on here unless there is any that I missed out just for that area. And like I said, that's just more of a visibility, keeping that nice, looking and not a million signs down the road, either on 149th or 42. And just right now, if you guys didn't see that either, I don't see one placed in there necessarily. And I think that's actually all. So I think just for me, it was more or less of making sure that they're going to keep the standards. It looks nice, the brick, what we're going to come in there. Then also to maybe just with that construction is probably my main concern. Just with our busy time is going to be in spring as well for the gym, for Anytime Fitness, and then our Sola Salon has upwards of 20 independent businesses in there. So we just want to make sure we're conscious of all the other tenants that are in that area.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience who'd like to speak on this item this evening? Okay, before we close the public hearing, Warren, I wonder if you can come back up and speak a little bit to the construction entrance and your thoughts on maybe what could be done there, as well as I think it is a good point on the landscaping of what the plan is to maintain the landscaping, since some of that landscaping and mowing and stuff of the property today isn't well kept.
I couldn't hear. Unfortunately, I'm getting old and hard of hearing. I try to remember to wear my hearing aids, my Costco hearing aids, when I come to these meetings, but I forgot tonight. Remembered about
you forgot last time too.
It's like, oh, anyway. So
okay.
Can you
I can
That's
repeat them.
specifically
Yes.
the questions. Yeah.
Yes. So,
Good.
Ms. Madiman has a concern around the construction entrance of, it looks like the construction entrance is planned to be the Anytime Fitness.
Yeah.
Madiman Properties driveway. I don't know if I can ever stop calling it Anytime Fitness, but the Madiman Properties driveway area, and their concern is that being their only entrance and exit to their property, that having something, maybe getting the other entrance built out or something else for a construction entrance.
Yeah, we can certainly look at cutting into that entrance first and using that for construction entrance if the city think that's a good idea.
Okay. We will review a city as well, but that would be great. And then I don't know if there's anything that can be done on the drive-through patterns, but there was concern about the drive-through stacking. But if I remember right, there was like 7 cars stacked, which is more than what would be needed. But obviously, maybe for the tenants, I don't know what can be. Maybe this is something for the city as well, but what can be done if it does start to encroach on another property owner's property, that something would need to be done, I would assume. We can't have, obviously, drive-through stacking encroach on another property.
Well, I'd be shocked if that ever happens for tacos, but
Okay.
it's not
Yes.
a Chick-fil-A. So,
Yes, as long as you're not putting in a.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And then the landscaping maintenance was the other concern of the landscape maintenance that's done today.
What was it? Was she talking about the ponding area?
The ponding area. I think the ponding area, the boulevard, the sidewalk, all of that. I can speak as a resident in that, just north of that area too. The sidewalks, the mowing is not well maintained along the property. Obviously, New Horizons maintains theirs and Anytime maintains theirs, but the properties along there, including this one, the sidewalk.
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna,
and the landscaping around the ponding.
we plan to maintain ownership of the building, and we will certainly maintain the side up to the curb of the street. And
mow it?
The ponding area, that's a city pond.
Okay.
I mean, that's not our responsibility or our right even to be on there. I think we would like to keep it cleaned up, at least the side on our side. We would want more visibility from 42. You know, we want people to see the restaurant. So we would like to be able to have the opportunity to clean that up, I guess, on the north side of the pond.
Okay, we will have the city comment on that as well then. And then lastly, there was, a monument sign. Is there a monument sign planned for this building?
We hadn't really talked about that or thought about it. It's such a small building, but that's a good question. We would have to come in for a separate permit for that, I'm assuming.
Yes.
Can we get back to you on that? Because obviously we'll have the signage on the building for each of the tenants.
Yep. Yep. I think, it was Ms. Madiman that had some questions around that, and maybe what that looks like in conjunction with the rest of the buildings there. So.
Okay.
So yeah. So maybe connecting with her based on the plans.
Yeah. So maybe we can get back to you on a monument if we think that would be good. I hadn't really thought about it, to be honest.
Okay. I think that covers the questions that I wrote down from Ms. Madiman. So you can have a seat. We'll see if there's anything else.
All right. I'll hang around.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Okay. Anyone else in the audience like to speak on this item this evening? Seeing none, I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Kenninger, seconded by Commissioner Reed. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Public hearing is now closed. Julia, can you speak a little bit to the city's thoughts on the construction entrance?
It would most likely be a conversation with their engineering department as they deal with roads and access off of roads. The applicant could definitely have discussion, especially if they update their plans. They'll have to resubmit those, and they'll get feedback from our engineering department.
Okay.
That works on that.
What is, I mean, in terms of obviously that entrance that's there, and correct me if this isn't accurate, but that entrance that's there is on the Madaman property building on their lot, right? So what is the right of way for somebody to use someone else's entrance exit for their construction? It does seem a little odd to me.
There would be some sort of agreement, an access agreement or easement that would be recorded. It would be between the two property owners.
Okay, so there would have to be agreement from that property owner to use it.
This was platted back in 2014. Obviously, the building east of the proposed building was built prior to 2014, but I'm guessing there was some sort of agreement with that stub to the west back during that time with platting, but I can't say for certain.
With regards to construction staging also, the city does have a pre-construction meeting with every developer prior to commencing development of a site. And it would be at that time that we would have the conversations between engineering and the developer about staging, where access, starting with the access off of 149th versus, just using the existing access into the site. So there is a process, and there is conversations before work starts happening on the site.
Okay.
So just to be clear, so we want to be planful, and we want owners to talk to each other. But if it were to turn out that there is disruption from the construction to the businesses at any time in SOLA, what is their recourse? They come to the city and ask the city to intervene, essentially?
Yeah, we can certainly do that. We have basically like mileposts along the construction project, and we do have inspectors out when there are different steps and stages of construction.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, I think the other piece to think about as a part of that is that the adjacent property owner, Ms. Madaman's, concerns are certainly well-founded, because there's quite a difference between just an access easement across private property versus getting in the way constantly or causing a disruption through it. So whether it's for the two adjacent property owners to start those discussions, that's always a good place to start, is having the two neighbors have this conversation. We're kind of having it publicly right now, but also, as Anthony mentioned too, as a part of a pre-construction meeting, that would also be noted as a part of that with the construction team. So I think that concern is heard and well received, and can certainly be addressed. The other thing I could clarify if we can here is that we're looking at the county's GIS, and that the stormwater pond outlot A just south of the proposed parcel does show an ownership of KJ Walk. So that is not the city's parcel right there, but that does show ownership by KJ Walk on that parcel, just to clarify that component.
Did you hear that? Okay.
The pond to the north across 149th Street West is owned by the city, but the one to the south is owned by the developer.
Okay. So Warren's going to get on top of that tomorrow. Now that you know you own it. You're going to maintain it. I hear the mower. Okay. Well, see, good conversations come from these things, realizations. Mm-hmm. No wonder you didn't maintain it. You didn't know you owned it. Okay, so that takes care of the pond. With regards to both the construction as well as any stacking from the drive-through and encroaching on the neighboring property to the east, is any of that things we should add into the conditions on our motion this evening?
From the stacking exhibit that was submitted by the applicant, I did not see it being an issue of overflow that would disrupt flow from the property to the east.
Okay.
At least for the exhibit that was submitted.
Okay.
It would be a dramatically different conversation if it was like a 7 bruise or something like that.
Okay.
So I guess one, knowing that who the tenant potentially is here.
But that tenant can change.
Right, and it can change. So I went to my first K-Taco actually a couple of weeks ago, in the one in Savage. So I'm familiar with it pretty recently. That one did not have a drive-through, but the food's delicious, so it'd be great if that comes here. But like the food turnaround time was pretty lengthy. So like from order to like getting your food, it was about 10 to 15 minutes. So if that is not like mobile order pickup only, I could see a situation where that gets like backed up. And so I guess that's one of my concerns is there a way that it can be just mobile order pickup only in the conditions, or is that not something we could put in there?
Madam Chair, Commissioner Biedner, I don't know if that level of specificity would necessarily be a good thing to put as a condition of approval in there. Kind of understanding the issue that the commission is discussing. The drive-through as proposed does meet the requirements of the code for its stacking requirements. So that's the one thing that the commission should be weighing in terms of its approval or denial of the application as it's presented. I think what we're pulling from is a lot of our own personal anecdotal experiences with different types of operators in there, which is certainly important on the front end if there's a known tenant going into there. Also consider the reality that tenants change over a period of time and years, and that these buildings are designed for multiple tenants over the course of multiple years, which may have lesser or more intense types of users within there. As long as it meets the provisions of the code, we probably don't want to get too detailed on an approval process in there. It could be worth noting if the commission wants to have additional conversation on adding part of the, let me pull it up here if you can bear with me. But basically, the drive-through conditions have stacking requirements, but also some sort of note that stacking for drive-through needs to be contained within the subject parcel's property or something to that effect. Basically putting the impetus on the property owner or the tenant or the building owner to solve for their traffic issues within their own parcel, not taking advantage of a neighboring parcel's lane or stacking or something like that. And if that means that they designate certain parking stalls for, you place your order at the window, you pull into one of those stalls to wait for your food. This plan, because it doesn't have a specific tenant in there, doesn't note that, but those are solutions I think that we've probably all seen in just our daily lives on how some of them handle it. So a certain level of trust to have the tenant solve that for themselves, but that would be one suggestion I could offer, is if you want to either add to one of the conditions or add an additional condition that drive-through traffic should be contained and maintained within the subject property, could be something to consider.
I could see something like that. Like, so hypothetically, like a 7 Brew could become a tenant in this location.
Hypothetically, yeah. Any eligible restaurant user or anything allowed within the code could be there. We can't discriminate between users.
Right. And then by just saying it has to be contained in the property, as opposed to like, you can't take pull-up orders. It has to be mobile order. Like that's the better way to solve it, is what you're saying.
That would be my recommendation, kind of thinking through it on the fly here, because I think what we're trying to mitigate, is heard by members of the audience, is trying to stay ahead of any negatively impacting an adjacent property owner's use of their property.
And I think that's what I'm trying to solve for too, is just making sure that spillover does not go into that other property.
And if the turnaround time is 10 to 15 minutes and they expand from just doing mobile order to taking orders, that it is kind of the Culver's model, right? Like you get your number and you have to wait for your food, which they could then have certain parking spots designated for that.
Sure.
Would be a solution. But I like that add of that, just to call it out to make sure we've got that
and
defined.
Sorry, Madam Chair, just to maybe further clarify, that is listed as Condition E, conformance with all required standards associated with drive-through facilities, and noting that drive-through traffic shall be managed and contained within the subject parcel's property, or similar language.
Sounds good. On the construction traffic, I know you mentioned that there's conversations that would occur with ahead of construction starting. Is that something that also should be noted as a condition at all?
I mean, we do have the condition A, compliance with all comments and requirements of the city engineer.
Okay,
So
that
I
would
mean,
cover that. Okay.
I believe that would cover it.
Okay.
If I could ask one related topic about drive-through standards, and this is under standards number 2, no use with a drive-through window shall be located abutting any residential use or district. And so it seems kind of gray. Can you explain how we're using abutting here and why this is not abutting residential?
So with the roadway intersection from the north, it's technically only abutting other MX2 uses.
Yeah, it's
With,
that road.
with 149th Street located north of that property.
So if this was residential, then it couldn't be there.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. My last question is my small thing on the placement of the landscaping trees to buffer the lights. Does that need any further commenting, or was that something we can make sure gets taken care of?
We can work with the applicant to make sure that that placement of the trees on that along the roadway
Okay. Just wanna
lines
make
up
sure
with that.
any conditions need to be called out. Okay, so we've got the one adjustment to a condition. Are there any other comments or questions, concerns from the commission? Okay, and we close the public hearing. So, okay. So with that, we could entertain a motion.
I've got the language, so I can do.
Perfect. Thank you, Commissioner Ellis.
So I'd move to approve the site plan review allowing KJ Walk Inc. to construct a multi-tenant commercial building with drive-through facility at 2718 149th Street West, subject to the following conditions A through F, with the addition at condition E, so it's conformance with all the required standards associated with drive-through facilities, and an additional requirement that the drive-through traffic and stacking be managed and contained on the subject property and not on the property to the east.
Second.
It has been moved by Commissioner Ellis, seconded by Commissioner Biedner. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. This item does not go forward to the City Council. This item is final by the Planning Commission this evening. There is a 10-day appeal period. Anyone in the audience who would like to appeal our decision this evening may do so by contacting city staff. With that, that concludes our public hearing section this evening. Is there any new business?
None, Madam Chair.
Any discussion items for the commission? No? Okay, I will just do a quick schedule review. We've got the next fourth Tuesday of September, October, and November are our meetings. So we've got September 22nd, October 27th, and November 24th. So if you have any of those that you are not able to make, please let city staff know as soon as possible. And with that, I will say meeting adjourned. Meeting adjourned.